Alright, let's start.
Okay, are you gonna do your intro?
Do the intro?
Okay.
Should I change it?
Sure.
Welcome to the Utah PTA Pulse Podcast. I'm a singer like Angelee, probably not as good as she. I am a tenor, second tenor, but I'm singing baritone right now. Welcome to Utah PTA Pulse Podcast. I'm Mike Williams, Director of Communications, and to my right and your left is...
I'm Angelee Aedo, the family commissioner, and I sing soprano 1.
Nice.
And I'm Cammy Whitchurch, Community Engagement Commissioner, and I am a total alto.
Nice.
We could almost do a little song.
I wish I was first tenor still.
Maybe next time we can find
Okay, we're gonna
find a song. Maybe for Christmas, we'll have a Christmas song.
we'll work on it. Practice. Practice.
Okay, so our question for right now is... Oh man, I have to go.
Question. What's your favorite color?
I mean, I do like that question, but I feel like we kind of already talked about that. If you could do anything you wanted tomorrow, what would you do? You could have unlimited funds, but it's just tomorrow, 24 hours.
I know it sounds crazy. Many of you listening to this probably go to Disneyland a whole lot. I haven't been with my family currently, and my kids are always like, when we going to Disneyland, when we going to Disneyland, when I get the money.
For real.
Disneyland.
For real.
I think I'd go to Disneyland with all of them, and we'd stay at the hotel on the park, so I don't have to truck in and out or anything. And I'd want to pay to go to that secret restaurant, the whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
That's what I would say. Here's $100 million. Give me, let's eat it there for whatever. I don't know. If I had unlimited funds.
That's a great one.
That's what I would do.
I love that.
That's funny because that was one of the things that came to mind. Let's go to Disneyland. Yeah. Let's go to Disneyland.
Wouldn't it be so nice if you could just go and not have to worry, like, about budget?
Right.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, like,
Yes.
you can buy all the food.
I can buy all the churros I want.
Any souvenir and shirt.
Get the Dole Whips.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then like, okay guys, we gotta go back into the hotel and get our peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Right?
So true.
Everybody gets $7 a day. Be wise with where you spend it.
And that will buy you a little trinket.
For real.
That's so true.
My niece is so cute. She's 6 and she is saving right now to take her family on a Disney cruise.
Oh, that's so cute.
By herself.
Good luck. She can do it.
It's so cute.
That's adorable. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that was, so I thought about Disneyland. Sleeping would be kind of nice. I don't want to sleep the whole day away. I would go camping. I love just being up camping. I don't know. Go up in the mountains where it's
$3
cooler.
million tent.
No, well, with our trailer, like, okay, so we kind of do the glamping thing, but yeah, with our trailer, go out there. It's just nice, get away. It's quiet. We won't bug you usually. Yeah.
Fun. Alright, Angelee. Yours better be like on a yacht in the Mediterranean.
I mean, I love the Disneyland idea too because we've never taken our kids.
Mm-hmm.
How could I don't feel so bad?
No, yeah, my kids, my one daughter has been to Magic Kingdom. But she was like 3.
I know. Well, I've never been. I went to Disney World a lot when I was a kid because we lived closer.
Yeah.
But I went when I was 6 weeks old to Disneyland.
Oh, you don't
That
remember
doesn't
that?
count. But even when we lived in California, we didn't really take our kids either. Okay, actually, so Disneyland is a great one, but I would actually love to hike along the coast. We did that when my kids were younger, and I loved every second of it, so I would love to do that again. But I would really like for my joints to not hurt during or after.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pay with your unlimited budget at exoskeleton.
Yeah,
The trunk on.
yeah.
I will just say that the other day, my little boy was like, "Where should we go on vacation?" I'm like, "We should go to the Maldives." "Where's the Maldives?" "The Indian Ocean." "How are we gonna get there?" "We fly to India, then you have to take a boat to the Maldives, and the Maldives have these really cool little.
Are those the houses on the water?
I'm like,
So cool.
so cool to go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I love hiking. I love everything about it, but my body hurts so bad after. When I hiked Tip a couple summers ago, it was so great. But I don't know if I like twisted my knee like right when we were coming down, but when we came down, like it was so painful the whole way down. Like
awful.
Oh, that's hard.
so painful, and so I would just love it for it not to hurt after the
Yeah.
hike because I love hiking so much. So great. Alright, so today, sorry I cut you off.
No, I was just, yep, go ahead.
Okay, so today we are talking about council presidents because we all
Well, are council presidents or council?
and councils, both. But we're all council presidents. We have our state jobs, but we also serve more at local levels in our councils. So maybe let's introduce our council, because we all serve a little bit differently on our council. So why don't you start telling me what those things?
So I am the middle school council president, kind of more acting. I was voted in, but we're hoping to find someone to replace me. It's just hard to do, as you probably know, to do a state job and a council job. So it's all the middle schools in the Jordan School District, and yeah.
Wow.
How many schools do you have?
Out of 10? There's 10.
Dang.
Or are there 9? No, there's 10. Or are there 11? I was the elementary one, and there were 9, or one of the elementaries. And so I forget, but I think there's 11, actually.
So when you're listening to this, Google it and put it in the comments.
Yeah, that's right.
I have my list, I just forget how many there are on it. So, yeah.
Love it.
See, I have my list too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I know you better know before.
So I serve in the Alpine School District, and we do our councils a little differently. We split off into clusters. So I have a high school and a middle school, and then 7 elementaries that all feed into that one high school.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a little bit different than what Jordan School District does, but same idea.
And I'm in the Canyon School District, over 10 elementary schools, and yeah, Canyon's North Elementary Council.
Love it. Are there any other middle schools in Jordan School District that aren't in your council?
No, so we have, the way that ours is structured is we have a high school one, that's all high schools, a middle school one, and then we have 4, east, west, central. Are there only 3?
Yours is, yeah, mine's 3. It's north, central, south, and then middle school, then high
Yeah.
school.
I think there's only 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think there's 3. Yeah. And I was over the east. And I was elementary.
It's a little different than Angelee's.
Yeah.
I think I like mine better. Just me.
Well, and I'm curious,
But yeah, how's that?
because we talk about a lot of things that relate to just middle schools, so middle school problems and things. So I'm curious how it's different for you, where it's, the feeder thing through. So there are things that, I guess, yeah, I'm just curious how it's different.
So every month, we do our collaboration time. So we talk about with our principal and our president, what they did that month, what's going well. And I feel like as the elementary schools, they're all kind of doing these similar things, at the same time. It's it's book fair time and parent-teacher conference time and dads and donuts or whatever. And we're all kind of doing those same events. And then when we get to the middle school and high school, the way secondary runs PTA is very different than elementary schools. And so I kind of wish we were structured the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like they have all these questions and they don't really know where to get the answers from. And I don't always know the answers because so far my experience had only been elementary. And so I'm I don't know what you're supposed to do in that middle school problem. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, I like that we're all like thinking about like mine's the Skyridge Council, so we're all thinking about how things work together in Skyridge, but I kind of wish that when they have issues, they could be like, oh, I'm going to go talk to the other middle school presidents about this and see how we can solve this problem, because I'm like, I don't know the answers usually, and neither do our elementary school presidents, because they're focused on elementary. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Maybe have like once or twice a year, like middle school, high school. Because I mean, for a while, our middle school and high school were combined into one, and it just got so big that we needed to split it. But I think there are a lot of similar things maybe between those, and it might be easy to have them combined. But
Yeah.
well, and I think there are probably advantages to doing it as a cluster feeder system, because you're dealing with maybe similar regional issues.
I think there are definitely some like regional things that happen, but like when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it would be kind of nice for them to like go to the high school one. I mean, Alpine District is so big.
I know what you're
mileage-wise, yeah, but like if you're going from Orem to Eagle Mountain, depending on where you're at, it's a long drive.
And that's hard too, because even driving to some of the schools, for meetings, I'm like, oh, this is a long drive, and Jordan's smaller than.
Much smaller. Like my council is 5 miles
Really?
from
Oh, because you're elementary. Yeah. When it's elementary, it's smaller, but when you do get to the middle schools and the high schools.
It's like 7 bucks.
huge.
That's true. That would be tricky to figure out, because they are more spread out. Yeah.
But I didn't know that there was a different way to do it, because I've only been experienced in Alpine. So it's kind of interesting to hear how other people do it.
For sure.
Well, I just preface to everyone listening, a council is above local, so it was local, council, region, state, national, right?
Yeah.
And when I was a local, we didn't have a council president, so I was local, region. So I was just, I think it's good for anyone who maybe is new at this, know that there are support tiers, because for me, I was just like, oh, I'm PTA president. I went to Utah PTA, looked at my handbook, and just thought, okay, I guess I'm on my own. I did my own thing, but it was nice to have a region director say, hey, well, you have support. You don't have a council president, and that's why I wanted to be a council president, because I was like, oh man, if I could have had that, just extra. And my region director was great, and she did everything and helped everything for me, but you could tell she was.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
She had a lot of stuff
the
that she was doing herself.
Already doing so much.
So she's like, if we only had a council president, and then it is nice having it set up at council, being able to talk to all those presidents, and any questions they have, I'm always there, and we're all in a group meeting together, and I love that other presidents will just answer the question, like, oh, this is great, they're figuring it out on their own. So.
Well, and it's nice because I feel like elementary schools do a lot of the same things. So it's like, what worked for your daddy-daughter dance? We're trying to plan them, but we don't want to do this or whatever. And so it's great that they can have that time to collaborate together. They're not on their own island, just trying to solve everything themselves.
Yeah. Well, I know last year on our council, one of the big things, because we were in the process of trying to remove PTA from we use Skyward, and remove them from the financial part of Skyward. And it was really nice to have them all together to talk about, how are we gonna make this transition, and what things can we try, and how do we do this. So it was nice to kind of have them all together to be able to discuss ideas and stuff. I don't know how it's going yet. We'll find out at our first meeting.
I know, right? Like, how's it going? Well, we talked about that too. That was like heavily talked about in Alpine, because we did the same thing. But most of my elementary schools were already using givebacks, but my middle school and high school weren't. And so they were like, why are we spending so much time talking about this? And I'm like, because this is a big deal at our secondary level, where most of them are using, going through Skyward to just like click one more button to get their membership. So is kind of a big change.
Yeah.
I guess you didn't deal with that really.
No.
Yeah, because that was not a conversation at the elementary level because they didn't, Although it was tricky because even getting the information off Skyward a lot of times was really tricky, and getting the secretaries to print out off that information and what information could they give, and
Yeah, it's hard when it was like a school entity because they shouldn't really be sharing information, you know, but it's like, well, they signed up for it, so.
We did, I think, have to add a box that said, you know, you can release my information.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, so.
It's a tricky situation, but.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the benefits of being council president, do you think? Is there any benefits to it? Like, okay, let's talk about your board. Are you a full board? Who's on your board? What would you prefer? Who would you prefer to be on your board? I don't have a reflection specialist on board. I really would like one.
Yeah.
So I get to take over reflections this year and conduct the award ceremony, which will be fun. But my other council presidents, we're in it together. We're gonna do a joint thing together.
Oh, I love that.
So us three, a whole three of us. But we did it last year together with our region director, and so I think we feel like we're confident to do it. But it would be nice to have a reflection specialist.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to just like not worry about it so much, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm worried. But it's nice. I'm there to also still assist with those local presidents, and if they have a reflection specialist, or if they don't, we're all in it together, and it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one last year, but we don't have one this year. And I already got presidents reaching out, like, what's the deadline? I'm like, oh no, it's so nice to have someone. So it is a lot trickier when you don't have those positions still. And last year I was really lucky to have, I had a secretary, a treasurer, and a reflections person. And that made a real difference. And actually, I feel like, and maybe it was just my secretary was really organized, but I feel like she was my most valuable executive committee member, because she kept me organized. And so that just, and I think on a local level, she probably would have done the same thing, just been that source of stability for me, because I'm not always the most organized. And so to have her step in and go, okay, this is what we need to do this month, this, and this, and this is what we should be training on. And so she was fantastic that way. So I think that's one area where I really did see the value in a really organized secretary that could keep me in line.
There's a position I still don't have, also as a teacher VP, which I really like. But I have an admin VP who I love. She's an assistant principal. And I told her, hey, this is what I want. I expect of her is I want her to be able to come to these council meetings and hear what is happening in other schools and come up with ideas like, oh, this is a problem, or this is a strength, or how do I share that with other principals that are in our council? Hey, this school is having the same problem as this school. How can the PTA assist in this in maybe a struggle or constraints? And so she said, okay, that's all I'm going to do. I'm like, thank you. Just I want you to be that connection from PTA to administration, which is really awesome. I'm excited to have these meetings. By the way, so we talked about this before. I'm only doing 4 meetings, and we should probably be doing monthly. So we talked about doing it monthly, and a lot of them are not too excited. They're like, what, four times a year is great. And I said, well, I think the monthly ones, I think we have our, for sure, board meetings about the business and things, but we really want to, I talked to the executive committee, and we decided that every other or whatever, we're going to do trophies.
Exactly.
And we're going to do a lot of treasurer, of course, but president, and I really do want to do one with admin and VP and have all the principals there to understand their roles, because I think some of these principals we have a lot of new principals, especially in elementary schools. I'd say half of our principals are new to being a principal. They might not understand their role.
I love that though. I think that's something that sometimes we overlook, is the importance of training our principals so that they understand.
Because they don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't know either.
Yeah. And luckily, like, I have one principal that she's been a PTA president, so I'm like, okay, she gets it. She understands. So I use a lot. I'm like, hey, will you help on this part? Yeah, okay.
But she's seen both sides, so.
Yes. Well, maybe helping those principals that don't see the value, maybe, or understand the value of PTA, helping them to understand that. Yeah, for sure.
So we meet monthly in my council, and we kind of focus on different trainings every month. So I know, like, in September we're like doing some membership training, but then I also try to like go through like each position and what's coming up for that. So it's like, so like for reflections, I have an awesome reflections lady, so she takes her time. Okay, this is what we do for reflections this month. This is what's coming up. This is what you need to do as a local president, and then we do like an advocacy person, and then the leadership person, or whatever. We touch on all the different things, and then communicate whatever we learned at our region meeting. I think there's so much. You could have them every month.
I know.
There's just like so much.
I was going to ask, how long are your meetings?
So they're typically an hour to an hour and a half, just depending on like how the conversation's going, and then if there's questions or whatnot.
Yeah, mine are. My first one was an hour, and because I didn't have like a cool fancy Zoom account, and it ended in an hour.
It's like, that's it.
And everybody that was there was like, yeah, that was awesome. That was great. I ended up paying for one, and I still have that. So I have unlimited time now. But even with unlimited time, we go about an hour and 20 minutes. So we get through all business as quick as we can, whatever. And then the last 20, 30 minutes is everyone's asking questions and saying, what are you doing? How are you doing? And it's awesome.
Yeah. I think an hour I found last year was too short. Like, we could never get
you just couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I felt like we were leading off with the questions, which I think are some of the most important things. So
the best part.
Well, that's I think that's why we're in councils, so that we can council together and get those questions answered and learn from everyone else too.
Yeah, and you say you have district people that come, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a district representative that comes, and it's great because he has so much information that, hey, make sure this is happening, or hey, these are things happening, or at least in our district we have to do background checks for volunteers. Are you doing this? Just, okay, glad she's here because she's telling us a bunch of information that maybe I've or I haven't thought of, and it's great to have a district representative at our meetings.
Yeah, our district rep has been invaluable this last year as we've been in the Alpine School District talking about a split. And we had a study done, and he kind of just every month was like, this is where we're at, this is what's coming up, if you want to be involved in the process, this is how you do it. And I felt like it was like really good for all those local members to see like that the district was trying to be like transparent about things and spread the information and like show that we were partners with PTA as well, and being like, help us with this, like help us to get the word out so that people know what's going on. Instead of just like secret, like, oh, we might split, we might not split, like it's pretty open.
Yeah. Do you guys struggle getting presidents there or helping them see the value in your council meetings?
Not really in my council, it's just part of what you're doing. But I do know that we've talked about this in our region, that our meetings are at 10 a.m. And it's like, it almost excludes like any working president, and so it's like, do you say, well, to be the PTA president, you can't have a job?
Yeah, that's true.
Because all your meetings are during the day. And I I think that's hard, and I think that's something that, as Utah PTA, we're going to have to approach that, because more and more families are doing income family.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not saying we're excluding anyone, but if our meetings and our things that we're doing are only during the day, we just did exclude a whole bunch of people, you know?
Yeah. Because I know that was a struggle for me, and, you know, sometimes it was, because our meeting was, I want to say it was from 11:30 to 12:30. And it's tricky. I mean, that's a tricky time for someone. If someone has, you know, a kindergartner, they might have to do pick up or drop off. And so it was really hard. And sometimes I don't know if the presidents saw value, and maybe that was an error on my part in not having the information that they felt was valuable. But that was a real struggle, is to get all of my presidents there. And I don't know if it's a time of day thing. And, you know, my other thought was, do I need to have 2 different times? But then that's hard, because that's double on me.
And it defeats the purpose of having council.
Exactly. So that I think was really tricky, and something that I'm hoping to tackle this year a little bit better, getting better attendance, and whether that's changing the time, I don't know. I mean, sometimes for me, the best time for a meeting is actually 8 o'clock at night. But then I realize for other people, that's like the witching hour at their house. And that's the worst possible time for a meeting. So I don't know what the answer is.
I always tell people that this is a meeting you want to call in your favors for. You know?
That's a good thought.
Or, like, if you have a little kindergartner at home or whatever, like, whatever the situation is, if it's possible, just bring them.
Yeah.
You know? But I'm like, and I say this about our leadership convention too, like, this is the time when you call in your favors with your neighbors and your grandma and your aunt and your uncle and your brother and your sister and, you know, all the people, so that you can attend those things by just making it, like, it's important to be here. You know?
I think Angelee brings up a good point with, you know, we've got to do different times. You guys probably serve on other committees and other, not PTA stuff, but other stuff. I'm on a city committee. Well, we don't meet at 10 in the morning, just because the staff works at 10 in the morning. Yeah. So all my committee meetings are at nighttime. And I'm on another committee that we meet at nighttime, and the only committee that I don't meet at nighttime is PTA. I'm like, oh man, this has got to change. Give us some nighttime things. So, I mean, I'm lucky that my council is at 1:30, and I've talked to them about later, but you know, you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
Although I had to do it later, a whole 3 o'clock, which was outrageous at my local level, and everyone said, well, we're not gonna go. Okay, I get off work at 2 and I have to do it at 3. I'm the president, I should probably be there. So we had it at 3 o'clock, and we had more people show up because there was a bunch of single moms that were like, well, I couldn't get off at this time, whether I had working moms, you know, whatever. They were like, thank you for having me at 3 o'clock. I just can't make it at 2. 3, I can tell my boss I need to take off 2 hours.
Yeah, and it's easier to do that than to be like, I need to take off an hour in the middle of the day.
Yeah. So I had a lot of people show up. They were like, oh, this is great, 3 o'clock. I can do 3 o'clock. And I'm like, okay. But then, yes, the 10 o'clock people, they still came. They were like, oh, we can manage. Oh. So,
okay.
Well, I know for some doing it 3, is that what time school got out?
Yes, school got out at 3:15. Yeah, it was difficult. But most of the kids were, the parents were going upstairs in the library.
Got it.
And then we just had kids.
Because I know one of our schools, we had it the hour, like just before, so it went from 2:30 to 3:30.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah. People were like, well, I'm picking up my kid at 3:30, and so it worked out well for them to do it at that time.
And I've had teachers say, well, I have to find a substitute for the 10 o'clock time, but for after school kind of time, I'll just show up.
That's true.
So we don't have to find a substitute for you.
That's a good point. I know that's tricky. The time of meetings, I think, is always so tricky.
Always.
And I realize that no matter what time you put it at, you're going to be leaving people out.
Always.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I've been thinking about like having more PTA meetings in the evening a lot lately. So I've just been thinking about other states, and most states that have PTAs, they do their stuff in the evening. And I'm like, I could not do all the things I do for PTA in the evening, but I could probably do the things that I'm most passionate about. You know, I would have to drop some of the things, but maybe that would allow for someone else to do those things.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Because you're involving more people that
Yeah.
maybe could take on some of the load.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
There's a couple people I've talked to in other states on their PTAs, and they're like, well, why didn't you just do it on Saturday? We all do it on Saturday. I'm like, not here in Utah.
You're like, on Saturday?
I mean,
What?
it sounds great. I think it would be fine to have a 1 hour meeting on a Saturday, but nope.
It's like sacred
Sunday.
time.
How dare you?
It's so
That is
weird.
nice.
PTA in not Utah is a different thing.
Yeah.
So, I think we should think of those kind of things, changing times and
Yeah.
the dates.
Mm-hmm.
Or 1 o'clock p.m. Saturday meeting.
I don't know if I can get on board with that.
Angelee, you can go
That's
at 8
the
at
middle
night.
of the day.
I'm like, morning or evening?
But it's all about being flexible. And I've even had people saying, well, we'll have the 10 o'clock on, every other month. We'll have the 1 o'clock every
Yeah,
month.
I've heard of that
And
too.
it works good.
You know what is the most annoying thing? When you have to go to a church meeting at night and you have to change your clothes.
Okay.
And I just thought of that, like, it's like times of meetings. Like, I really hate when I have to go to this, like, important meeting at 7 and I'm, like, already tired and I have to change to church clothes. And I'm like, I just want to put on my pajamas. Why couldn't this meeting have been at 10 a.m. when I was just kidding?
If it's a Zoom meeting, you can't.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
My husband works from home, and his work attire since COVID has changed.
Oh, seriously, my husband's too.
He wears pajama. I wash more pajama pants now.
Nice.
What do you wear for work? Nice clothes?
I wear a polo shirt and
Yeah.
good slacks.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
So true. Yeah.
Well, we got a little off subject a little bit. But
Council meetings.
Well, and Zoom versus in person.
Yeah, so I get at my last council meeting, I had 2 region director people, I had a region director and the region secretary, and a district person, and we have ours at the district offices. And then I had 4 presidents, I had my secretary, my treasurer, and then we had like 5 principals online. No principals show up. The 5 says I'm giving this virtual option, then I'll go online. And then I had 3 PTA presidents. And one of them was like, just so you know, I'm on my way. I'm on the phone on Zoom. She's like,
But at least she gets in there.
yeah, she can listen to it and at least participate while she's getting there. And she gets there at like 2:15, so I'm 45 minutes late, but at least she's listening.
But she's getting that 45 minutes.
Right,
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And, Cammy talked about, well, how, with audio and stuff, yeah, I get creative and I have audio equipment because I know how to do that kind of stuff. But that might be something maybe even on a state level. Hey, do you want to do a virtual option? Maybe your PTA can budget for, $100 of equipment.
Well, that's, so one of the things as community engagement commissioner that I really am working on this year is a resource bank kind of that locals can refer to. And, maybe it would be, equipment that helps with a virtual meeting. And, like, there's kind of a budget version and a more
Mid-tier.
robust,
couple different tiers.
Yeah, like different tiers so that people can, because what I was doing for some of my meetings is those little plug-in lapel, thank you. Lapel mics, and I would just plug it into my computer and run the Zoom from my computer, and I just put 2 mics, on 2 ends of the table. And, people said it picked up pretty decent and they could at least understand what was what's going on in the meeting.
Yeah, I have a $300 microphone. Yes, I know it's $300, but I have a $300 microphone, put it in the middle, plug it into the laptop, bring a GoPro, plug it into the laptop so everybody can see. So,
Well, maybe something like that is worth an investment, especially if you're gonna, you know, so that the council just owns this, knowing, or, you know, maybe the region owns it,
yeah,
and just the council's rent it out.
yeah.
But that's good for locals to think about though, because I think a lot of them do run hybrid meetings,
Yeah.
and we can't, like, I love in-person meetings. I do. There's something to be said about an in-person meeting, but virtual meetings aren't going away.
No.
And I'm like, when you're at work, if you're going to work, or when I watch my husband's virtual meetings, they all have like a nice microphone, and they have their headphones on, and so they're not just like pulling up Google Meet all of a sudden being like, okay, everybody hop on. Like,
Yeah.
they have their things so that you can actually hear and focus and speak well, and so I think that's something that the local PTAs definitely need to try to invest in as well. Like, if this is the way of the future.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it would be good too is making sure that agenda is available for your PTA members, the minutes are available, somewhere they can, hey, can I see what the minutes were, can I see what the agenda was, make sure that's available to everyone. Because even if you can't go and you're like, okay, can I at least look at the minutes, which I do plenty here at the state level. It's, did you get those minutes? Let me go look. Yep, there's those minutes. And then I read them, I'm like, okay, at least I can read the minutes because I wasn't able to make the meeting.
Well, and in a previous podcast, we talked about being in good standing, and one of those things is minutes. And as councils, we have to do that same thing. We have to have an agenda, and then do our minutes too. So we're not like exempt from some of those rules that our local PTs have.
And I live by my council minutes, and I love my secretary. And I'm like, oh yes, so much is said in that they're like, oh, what did we say? And if you have a great secretary, minutes are invaluable.
Yeah, like some people say, oh, the secretaries, like, it is such a valuable position.
Totally.
Always, like, that information that they keep.
And I love when they can, like, they're on a Google Doc and they can tag you in it, and then you get, like, the notification. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yep. All the time.
Well, and the ones that just, I mean, you basically finish the meeting and they've been doing the minutes, you know, on their computer or whatever, and they literally send it out. You get it before you get home.
You're like, yeah. My secretary quit, so
Oh!
I'm looking for a secretary.
That's
Yeah.
What's your Utah PTA.org email?
Angelee.
Well, yeah, that's my state one, Angelee Aedo, UtahPTA.org. So, you know, the secretary that wants to serve in the eye.
Email.
They don't even have to live in the eye.
That's true. That's true.
We do hold our meetings in person, though, so you have to be willing to commute to the eye. Because our council, we do things a little differently in Alpine School District. So, our council meetings are all on the third Tuesday of the month, and it's like a set date on the calendar, and principals are required to attend. So,
I love that, actually.
it's just what we do, and I think it shows like we support PT, the district supports PTA and realizes the importance. And this year, the principals are actually supposed to have their own like collaboration time after we collaborate all together, and so that's one of our focuses this year in our region is making sure that the principals have their collaboration time after we finish all the business all together.
I think that's awesome because there are needs that aren't being met at the school that the PTA could meet, but that sometimes the administration doesn't know that the PTA is a source of stuff, you know, source of programs and things. I know I go to an SAC meeting and the principal's like, oh, here's our levels of reading and math and art and all this, and I look at those reading levels and I'm like, man, if we could just get the PTA to come in and do some kind of reading program with these students and help them to read just that much better, and then the teachers are like, oh yay, you know, something that we want to help the district, we want to help the teachers, we want to help the students to make every child's potential a reality by engaging their parents, families, and communities to advocate for our children.
Yeah.
And cheating.
Well, I mean, yeah, like making, but I mean, I think I try to do the mission before every meeting, and I think helping those principals see, like, this is PTA's mission.
Yeah.
What can we do to make
Yes.
it possible?
Right. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Well, I think giving the principals that time to talk with each other too is important, because I think we just assume that they all talk to each other, but they don't.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really have time to do that.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that they can kind of problem solve with each other as well.
Mhm.
They always need to problem solve.
Okay.
So-
Do that, right? Council.
Yeah.
How do you make your council meetings, I don't even know how to say this, so that that information fills out of value to everyone, your principals that are attending, if you have a teacher rep that's there, as well as your president, so they don't feel like, oh, that's part of the meeting, I can just turn it off.
So in my meetings, I try to do like the business that I need, like principals and presidents for, like at the beginning, and things that I think are pertinent to both. Like when we're talking about the ins and outs of like how to run a fundraiser, I don't necessarily think my principals need to be there for that. Like, I mean, you want to, sure, but like, I think there's like more important things to talk about that with them. And so we do a part of our meeting together, and then we release the principals to collaborate with each other, and then the PTA leaders collaborate with each other. So we start together, and then we break off. So like, usually I talk about the awards, like the nitty gritty of like PTA awards. We do that like just with the presidents. Like,
Okay.
we talk about what the awards are with everyone, and then when they're like have questions, it's just like those guys, like principals don't need to worry about that. You know what I mean?
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's a really good idea.
I rely a lot on the region. They'll get a lot of information from the state.
Yeah.
Region will talk about it, and then everything on the region agenda, I make sure it's on my agenda.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, we got all this stuff, and
They're like, this agenda's very long.
Well, it is hard because I like, region, they get all this information in like a half a day.
yeah.
Well, actually, two and a half. I mean, yeah, they get all this information over like 2.5 days. And you're condensing it down at region to like 3 hours, and then like we're condensing it down again. It's really tricky to like, okay, what is the most pertinent?
Yeah.
And what can I give out as an email? And what is necessary in meeting? I think that's tricky.
Well, I think it's like when we're going to our region meetings, it's kind of discerning like what is good for the locals to hear, and like what did I just need to hear. You know, like what's just kind of for my position and how I lead or how I do things, as opposed to like this is what I need to train the locals on. Because sometimes I'm like, okay, this part's just for me. You know, like,
Yeah, that's true.
I don't really need to bring this down. But
Yeah, I think as long as we make the information pertinent to them,
Yeah.
they'll see value when they come. And I think that, at least for me, that's gotten, the attendance has risen. Because we go, oh, this is what the purpose of the council is.
Yeah.
Get in and they want to come. And I even get presidents, oh, I'm so sorry I missed the meeting. What did you guys
That's
talk
good.
about?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
well, and I'm kind of building it back up. It wasn't functioning quite right, or really much at all.
Yeah.
And so to rebuild that, I think it takes time.
yeah, good points.
We'll get to Angelee says one day.
I just like stepped into it, but I also I feel like there's like things that like I was the president-elect, and I was like, I don't really know what my president does, and then even then when I still became the president, I was like, oh, there's things that I should be doing that we weren't doing before.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But I mean, having that structure already in place and people knowing like this meeting is at this time and I need to be there, like that helps year after year because it's already.
And it hasn't really changed over the last 2 years. So it's just kind of like, if you're going to be the PTA president, you know you're going to have to be at this meeting.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I still kind of have issues with because I want more concurrence to do more, but that's an issue for another day.
Yeah.
But
It's not perfect. That's what we know, like there's still work to be done.
Still work to be done and stuff, and not perfect. But I really, when I was a PTA president, I really did value going to the council meetings and feeling that support and being able to ask questions. And so I think it's important to be in a council and not feeling like you're on your own.
Well, one of the things I love about being the council president is going to the region meetings. And the information that you get there, just to, I don't know if you're a meeting person, I'm a meeting person, like Angelee. But, you know, our superintendent is our region meetings, and we usually have a school board member there, and the information that you get at that meeting is just awesome.
Yeah, I love a lot about our region meetings too. And sometimes we would have special guests from the school district, like we had our, I don't know what her title is, our like diversity specialist come one time, and she talked about the DLI program and ALL and changes that were happening, and we've had, I don't know, just different people come in from the district, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have this experience otherwise, and I wouldn't know these people. So I love that. I love that we get this time with the superintendent, you know, to talk about things, and he's always like, what do you want to talk about? Like, just throw it at me. And sometimes he comes prepared with things, but other times he's just like, okay, here you go, like, here's your time, and I love it.
Yeah, definitely I value.
Is your superintendent come to your region meetings?
Yes, he's awesome. Yep.
I love it.
It's good to see so many superintendents seeing the value of PTA and being there.
Yeah, I love listening to that. There's always like some like way out of like crazy things that people want to ask, and why do we burn the books or something like that. But, oh, gee. But yeah, he comes more with information that I was like, wow, we're doing this. Wow, this is happening. Whoa, this is cool. Fun.
And they always say things so diplomatically.
Yeah.
I'm like, did they teach you that in your master's program? Like,
It's just all about delivery.
Very,
like, where do I learn that?
Yes. So calming to listen to.
I'm like, you just delivered that so well, and I want to say that same message, but it's not going to be the same.
I usually open my mouth and only half the words that I prepared come out. So.
For real.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Or not even that. The thought's gone before it. Too many holes in my ears.
What advice do we have for council presidents that maybe their council isn't going well, or it's not functioning, or they're not where they want it to be? What advice do you think we have?
I mean, the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is start where you're at. You know, so maybe you're not doing all these things, but you know what, you can start setting up meetings. So contact your presidents and say, okay, you know, maybe you don't do meetings every month, because it's just not, you just have to start where you're at and say, well, we're going to do every other month, and we're going to set up our meetings. So just start where you're at and then move forward from there. That's, I think, the best piece of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, last year, same thing, I kind of had to build this council up, and last year I went to every back to school night for all of our, all my elementaries, made sure I met with every president, and I took a selfie with all my presidents.
Oh, I love that.
I'm not worthy of you guys.
It was just fun, you know, I wanted them to see, you know, show that I have a personal investment in it, like, I am here for you, my kids are out down in Washington. Did you ever say that? Right, interrupting the podcast, but I think being personal with them, and I talked to all my presidents one-on-one. So this year I made sure I text them individually, how are you doing, what do you need, I'm here to support you. I've had new presidents come in that don't know that I'm the council president, so just setting that standard and
Making that connection.
make that connection.
I love all that. I think it's so great.
Okay.
Well, and even, you know, those that are, like, letting them know, like, I'm not perfect, but we're going to get to this together. And
Oh, all my groupies are. Let me ask the state.
For real. And I think that's important to be like, I don't know the answer, but like, let me find the answer.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to not know the answer, too.
Let me ask the director. Let me ask our region.
But like, let me text my friend real quick.
Well, don't make it up. If you don't know the answer, like, find it out. Don't try and fluff over it.
Yeah.
I agree.
And hopefully as a council person, you have a good relationship with your region director. So you can go to them. We are a little bit different because we have state positions as well. So sometimes I'm like, let me just text the treasurer real quick and find out.
Yeah.
But I realize that's not like what most people are going to do. They're going to go to their region. So I would say make sure you have that relationship with your region director and your region leaders to be able to ask them questions and feel like comfortable asking them questions.
Yep.
I guess vice versa for the region director too, to make sure that you're working on building that relationship. So.
And I love my region director. I'm not going to live without her.
Yeah, I love mine too. She's so great.
I have two. Well, you have two also. 'Cause
Yeah, I have an associate. I love both of them.
We lost our AD status this year.
Numbers. Isn't that what
Yeah, it's just numbers.
So once again, have you bought your PTA membership?
Right.
Or encourage your friends and family to buy it?
Text everyone.
Yeah.
Text the person that you would be like, I'm not going to text them, text that person.
Tag them.
Yep.
I joined the PTA team.
Yeah. Maybe that's all we need to do for our Facebook.
Yes, I joined the PTA team.
They're just going to be like, no.
Silence.
Like that's it. Flat out.
Commenting in this thread.
I support children by joining PTA.
There you go.
Guilt them. Do you support children?
So we hope that if you have questions of being a council president, you'll be willing to reach out. We'd love to help you. We're not perfect, but we're going to help you if we can and find
And region
answers.
directors too.
Yeah,
They're there to help.
but feel free to reach out. Alright.
Okay.
Ready to break?
Yeah. Put cool music with this.